My brothers and sisters, let me tell you something right. You are broken. You are not broke, not empty. You are not lacking. You've been blessed with more wealth on the inside than you can possibly imagine. But here's the problem. Most people live their entire lives waiting for wealth to show up on the outside while ignoring the truth that it's already buried deep within them. And it's not because they're lazy. It's not because they're unworthy. It's because wealth is already inside you. It's not something you find. It's unlocked from the very beginning. Each of us was created with purpose, potential, and provision already embedded in our design. When you were born, you didn't come here empty. You came here fully loaded with everything you need to become who you were meant to be. But the tragedy is most people spend their entire lives searching outside themselves for what was planted inside them from the start. We've been conditioned by society to chase wealth like it's some distant prize. The world tells you to go get a good job, climb the corporate ladder, and hope one day you can retire rich. But real wealth doesn't come from external circumstances. It flows from internal clarity. It's not out there somewhere waiting to be discovered. It's already in you, the waiting to be activated. When God created the earth, he spoke to the source. When he created fish, he spoke to the sea. When he did trees, he spoke to the ground. And when he created man, he spoke to himself. That means your source is divine. And anything that's connected to God is never broke, never lacking, never ordinary. You were created from the wealthiest source in existence, which means you carry that same wealth in your spiritual DNA. But here's where most people miss it. They think wealth is limited to money. Money is only a manifestation of wealth, not the source of it. Wealth is your mind, your ideas, your creativity, your ability to solve problems. Wealth is your perspective, your insight, your ability to see opportunities where others see obstacles. And if you don't recognize the wealth you already possess, you'll always chase after what you were designed to attract. Inside of you right now is a business, a book, a brand, a solution, strategy, a system, something that could change your life and bless others. But it's locked up behind fear, doubt, conditioning, and hesitation. The world taught you to wait for permission, but God already gave you authority. He said, be fruitful and multiply. That wasn't just about having children. That was a command to take what he gave you and expand it. The problem is we often bury our gifts instead of investing them. We look at other people's talents and think we're not enough. We discount our ideas. We play small. We silence our voice. And in doing so, we keep the vault of our own wealth shut tight. But God never asked you to be a copy. He created you as an original, and originals carry original value. If you want to unlock the wealth inside you, you have to shift your mindset. You have to stop thinking like an employee and start thinking like a steward. You're not working for money, you're working your gift, and money is the reward for how well you work it. Money is attracted to value, and value is released through purpose. When you align with your assignment, you become netted to the very resources you thought were missing. Too many people are trying to acquire wealth without ever tapping into their source. But when you operate from the inside out rather than the outside in, you tap in an unlimited supply because internal wealth multiplies regardless of external conditions. You could take a wealthy-minded person, strip away their money, and they create it again. Why? Because the real wealth was never in the bank. It was always in their being. Your gifts are the seeds of your financial and spiritual harvest. Every person is born with something unique, something planted by God himself. These aren't random abilities or nice-to-have talents. They are gifts, and they are divine. Your gifts were given to you with intention. You didn't earn them. They were placed inside you to be used, to be multiplied, and to produce fruit, not just for you, but for others. And just like a seed contains the blueprint of forest, your gifts carry with them the potential for overflow. The challenge is that most people don't recognize the power of what they've been given. They overlook their own gifts because they don't seem flashy or grand. They assume wealth and success are reserved for the few, the lucky, or the chosen. But the truth is, they chosen are those who choose to activate what God has already placed within them. You don't need to beg for blessings when you start cultivating your gifts. The blessing is in the seed, and the seed is already in your hand. Think about how seeds work. A seed doesn't look much, small, unimpressive, and often ignored. But inside that seed is everything required to grow something massive. It just needs the right environment, time, and care. Your gifts work the same way. They may start small, hidden, and even unpolished, but when you start working them, sowing them, and watering them with consistency, they begin to grow. And not just grow, but multiply. People often pray for harvest, but never sow their seed. They wait on God to do something while God is waiting on them to use what they've already been given. Your gift is the vehicle God gave you to step into your calling and create impact. They see the strength of it. It's how you solve problems, meet needs, and bring value to the world. When you use your gift, you serve. And when you serve, you position yourself for reward. Financial increase is the byproduct of faithful stewardship. Your gift doesn't have to look like someone else's. Some are gifted to speak, some are gifted to build. Others are gifted to heal, teach, write, organize, lead, or innovate. Whatever your gift is, it's enough. Because God never gives a seed without designing a harvest for it. And the size of your gift, it doesn't limit the size of your harvest. It's how you use it that determines the result. One small seed, faithfully sown, can feed nations. If you're struggling financially or more spiritually, the first question you should ask EC, am I using my gift? Not partially, not occasionally, but fully, intentionally, and consistently. Because when your gift is dormant, your harvest is delayed. You can't multiply what you don't activate, and you can't receive from the ground what you refuse to plant. The marketplace rewards problem solvers, and your gift is designed to solve specific problems. When you identify what you're uniquely wired to do and then use that to serve others, money begins to flow as a reflection of the value you provide. But if you bury your gift out of fear, comparison, or insecurity, you rob the world of the very thing you were created to give. Your spiritual growth is also connected to your gift. When you use it, you grow closer to your purpose. You walk in alignment, you feel fulfilled. You experience joy and clarity. Why? Because your gift is connected to your identity. It's not just about what you do, it's about who you are. And when you express that identity through action, you come into agreement with the very reason you were created. The gift is not the goal. The gift, the gateway, it's the starting point. It's the seed that leads to harvest, not just financially, but in impact, in influence, in peace, and in legacy. Money follows value, and value flows from purpose. This is one of the most important truths anyone who desires wealth must understand. Money is not the starting point. It is a result. It's not the cause. It's the effect. Chasing money without understanding value is like chasing shadows. It'll always come up empty. But when you shift your focus to creating and delivering value, money begins to pursue you. And they see the strength, the lasting value only flows out of alignment with purpose. You were created with a specific purpose. That purpose is not just spiritual, it's practical. It's meant to serve people in the real world. Purpose is not just what you feel called to do. It's the assignment you've been equipped to fulfill. And inside that assignment is where you find your highest level of value creation. You don't have to guess where your value is. You just have to get in alignment with why you were made. Every business that succeeds does so because it meets a need, solves a problem, or delivers transformation. That's what value is, meeting real needs in meaningful ways. People pay for transformation, not information. They pay for results, not promises. They exchange money for the relief of a burden or the creation of a desired outcome. And the more effective, efficient, and unique you are at delivering that transformation, the more money will flow toward you. That means if you want to increase your income, the first step is not working more hours or trying to hustle harder. The first step is to become a person of greater value, develop your skills, deepen your expertise, understand your audience, innovate solutions, elevate your service. The marketplace does not reward time. It rewards impact. And an impact is the fruit of value delivered through purpose. People often look at wealthy individuals and assume they got lucky or had some special advantage. But more often than not, those individuals discovered their purpose, committed to it, and learned how to deliver value at scale. That's why you'll see people in the same industry doing the same type of work, earning radically different incomes. The difference isn't just talent. It's alignment with purpose, clarity of value, and intentional focus on solving the right problems. When you operate from purpose, you're not just working, you're building, you're not guessing, you're creating, you're not reacting, you're leading. Purpose gives you vision. It tells you who you're called to serve and how you design to serve them. When you understand that your product, service, or message becomes magnetic to the people who need it. You don't chase money because you've become a magnet for it. But without purpose, people build their business and their lives on shaky ground. They try to offer value without a real understanding of who they are or what they're meant to do. And that leads to burnout, inconsistency, and frustration. True value comes from authenticity. It comes from doing what only you can do in the way only you can do it. When you show up fully in your lane, you bring a level of value that no one else can replicate. This is why knowing your purpose is not optional. It's essential. It's not just a feel-good idea. It's the blueprint for your wealth, your impact, and your fulfillment. Purpose creates clarity. Clarity directs your actions. Your actions produce results. And those results determine your value in the marketplace. The greater the clarity, the greater the focus, the greater the impact, and the greater the impact, the greater the income. Money is always looking for a place to land. It flows toward the people who solve problems and improve lives. If you're not experiencing the level of financial growth you desire, the question is not, how do I make more money? The better question is, how can I increase the value I provide through the purpose I've been given? Because when you tap into purpose, value becomes inevitable. And when value is present, money can't help but follow. Obedience to your calling unlocks overflow. There is a direct connection between walking in obedience to your divine calling and stepping into a life of abundance. Overflow doesn't come just from effort, strategy, or hustle. It comes from alignment. When you move in obedience to what God has called you to do, you step into the supernatural flow of provision, direction, and expansion. You're no longer trying to force results. You're following a blueprint that has already been designed for your success. Obedience isn't just about avoiding sin or keeping rules. It's about saying yes to the assignment you were born to carry. It's about trusting the voice of God over the noise of culture. It's about choosing purpose over comfort and calling over convenience. There's a level of increase that only comes on the other side of obedience, not partial obedience. Not delayed obedience, full, immediate, faith-driven obedience. When you obey your calling, you enter a space where doors open that no man can shut. Opportunities find because you've positioned yourself correctly. You start attracting the right people, the right ideas, the right timing. You're not out here chasing blessings. Blessings are chasing you. That's what overflow looks like. It's not the result of striving. It's the result of surrendering your plan for God's plan. Many people struggle financially and spiritually not because they lack talent or effort, but because they're operating outside of their assignment. They're doing good things, maybe even successful things, but not the right things. And good can be the enemy of great when it keeps you distracted from your purpose. Obedience requires clarity, and clarity comes from seeking God, not just strategies. When you're obedient to your calling, you stop comparing, you stop striving to be seen and instead focus on being sent. You understand that the favor that follows your life is not based on manipulation or performance. It's based on obedience. God blesses what he initiates. And when you move on his word, not just your will, you tap into kind of increase that can't be explained by logic. Overflow doesn't just show up in your bank account. It shows up in your peace, your confidence, your relationships, your impact. You begin to experience ease in areas where there was once frustration. Ideas flow, solutions appear, time seems to stretch. That's the grace that comes from obedience. It's not always easy, but it's always worth it. Because on the other side of your obedience is someone else's breakthrough. Your calling isn't just for you, it's connected to the transformation of others. Some people are waiting on confirmation before they move, but God is waiting on movement before he sends confirmation. Faith-filled obedience says, I don't need to have all the answers. I just need to follow the voice. Every time in scripture that someone obeyed God fully, the result was increase. Abraham obeyed and a nation was born. Moses obeyed and a people were delivered. Peter obeyed and nets broke with abundance. The pattern is clear. Obedience brings overflow. Disobedience, on the other hand, it can cost more than you realize. It doesn't just delay your blessing. It can drain your energy, your resources, and your momentum. When you resist your calling, you end up working harder for less. You grind without grace. You labor without lasting fruit. And worst of all, you're beneath your potential. But the moment you align with your assignment, everything begins to shift. Obedience often requires risk. It means walking into the unknown, stepping out in faith, and trusting that provision will meet you on the path. But risk in the direction of calling is safer than comfort in the wrong assignment. God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. And when you say yes to what he's placed inside you, he adds supernatural increase to your natural steps. You don't wealthy by working harder. You get wealthy by working in alignment. The world has taught us that the key to wealth is hard work. Russell, push harder, sleep less, do more. And while discipline and consistency absolutely matter, hard work alone is not the formula for wealth. If it were, then the hardest working people in the world would be the wealthiest. But that's not the case. There are people working multiple jobs, grinding all day and night, yet still struggling to make ends meet. The truth is, wealth doesn't respond to effort alone. It responds to alignment. Alignment means getting into position with the reason you were created. It's when your time, energy, skills, and decisions are all moving in the same direction as your divine purpose. When you're in alignment, your work carries weight. You no longer have to force results because your output is powered by clarity and purpose. You're not just busy, you're not effective, you're not just moving, you're advancing. Many people are exhausted not because they lack work ethic, but because they're out of position. They're working hard at the wrong thing. They're building someone else's dream. They're climbing a ladder that's leaning against the wrong wall. That kind of work drains you. It burns energy but produces little fruit. But when you get into alignment, you start seeing exponential results. You do less and accomplish more. You speak less and influence more. You invest less and reap more, not because you've become lucky, but because you've become aligned. Alignment starts with clarity. You can't walk in purpose if you don't know what it is. And you can't expect wealth to find you if you're hiding your gifts behind fear, doubt, or distraction. Getting wealthy requires that you identify the area where your passion, your skill, and a real world problem intersect. That intersection is your zone of alignment. That's where your greatest impact and your greatest income lives. When you work in alignment, you activate a kind of flow that feels natural yet powerful. You stop forcing outcomes and start storing opportunities. The ideas you need begin to show up. The people can open doors start appearing. It's not magic. It's the multiplication effect of alignment. You become a magnet for resources, favor, and strategy because you're finally walking the path you were designed to walk. Wealth also includes more than money. It includes peace, time, freedom, and legacy. And those things are only sustainable when they're built on the foundation of alignment. You can build wealth the world's way, grind, compete, and manipulate, but it won't last. It will wear you down, steal your joy, and rob you of fulfillment. But when your wealth is the result of purpose-driven alignment, it strengthens you, it builds you, it blesses others through you. Alignment doesn't mean you never work hard. It means your hard work is strategic, targeted, and rooted in something deeper than survival. You stop trading hours for dollars and start leveraging your value for impact. You shift from labor to leadership, from hustle to harvest, and that shift changes everything. Your calendar changes, your goals change, your confidence changes, because now you're working with a sense of divine urgency, not desperation. This is why wealthy people often focus more on their thinking than their doing. They spend time aligning their beliefs, their decisions, and their vision for taking action. They understand that misaligned action leads to wasted energy, but aligned action leads to acceleration. They see the strength of more. It's not about doing what matters most in the way only you can do it. There is no shortage of opportunity in the world. There is only a shortage of alignment. When you find your lane and stay in it, you stop chasing and start attracting. You stop spinning your wheels and start gaining momentum. You stop living by reaction and start living by design. Well, flows of the aligned. Stop waiting for a miracle. You are the miracle God sent. We often look to the sky, the system, someone else to change our lives, fix our problems, or open doors. We pray for miracles. We search for breakthroughs, and we hope that something will shift around us. But what we often overlook is that God has already placed the miracle inside us. You don't have to wait for someone to show up. You are the solution someone else is waiting for. You've been equipped, empowered, and assigned to bring change, not just to your own life, but to the lives of others. From the beginning, God has never needed a crowd to spark transformation. He's always used one person who was willing to believe, willing to act, and willing to move. Moses didn't feel qualified, but God used him. Esther didn't feel prepared, but she stepped into her moment. David wasn't the obvious choice, but he was the anointed one. What mattered was not how they looked or what they lacked. What mattered was that they recognized the miracle wasn't outside of them, it was within them. You carry something that the world needs. It might not look like much right now. It might be undeveloped, overlooked, or even buried under self-doubt, but it's there. The idea, the voice, the perspective, the gift, the solution, it's already in you. God didn't send you here empty. He sent you here with an answer. You don't need to become someone else. You need to become fully you, the you that walks in truth, the you that owns your assignment. They see the you that stops underestimating your influence. Waiting on a miracle becomes a form of a delay when you ignore the calling you already know you're meant to answer. It feels spiritual. It sounds patient, but often it's just fear wearing a mask. Faith isn't passive moves. Faith builds, faith acts. When you realize that your obedience is someone's answered prayer, you stop sitting on your potential. You stop hiding behind your excuses. You stop treating your life like it's small, because it's not small, it's strategic. You don't have to wait for permission to move. You've already been authorized. The gifts God gave you are not suggestions. They are indicators of your assignment. And your assignment is your lane. When you embrace it, everything begins to shift. You start seeing resources align, relationships open, ideas multiply. That's not coincidence. That's confirmation. When you move in purpose, heaven backs you up. You are not here to merely survive. You are here to build, to create, to lead, heal, to inspire. That's why the enemy fights your identity so hard. Because if you ever fully believed who you are and what you carry, you'd become unstoppable. You'd stop playing small. You'd stop playing safe. You'd realize that the very thing you've been waiting on is waiting on a wake up to who you really are. There are people assigned to your voice, people who will only receive the message when it comes from you. People whose next level is connected to your yes. Your movement unlocks momentum. Your courage gives others permission to rise. And your obedience creates ripple effects that you may never fully see. But heaven sees and heaven multiplies. You're not an accident. You're not just passing through. You're not here just to get by or a walking solution. You are a divine strategy. You are a miracle wrapped in flesh. Every time you take action on your calling, you release heaven's power into the earth. You shift atmospheres. You break cycles. You build what didn't exist before, not because you're perfect, but because you're positioned. It's time to stop minimizing what you carry. They stop disqualifying yourself because of where you've been or what you don't have. What's in you is greater than what's against you. What's in you is the key to someone else's freedom. You are the miracle God sent into your family, your business, your community, your generation.